Hello and welcome back to SALEMA'S Slow Edits. It's been a while since my last post, so today I want to share something that has been sitting with me for a while now. The title of this podcast and post on Substack, if you are reading or listening, is called The Space We Rarely Give Ourselves. Something that came into focus quite strongly during my recent travels to Palma and a stay in a beautiful, calming luxury eco resort was that it made me pause, really pause, and reflect on something quite simple but quite profound. Why do we find it so difficult to give ourselves permission to create space and then reside in that space? And I'm not just talking about the physical space, but I'm talking about our inner space, in our heads, basically, and in our bodies, as well as that sense of space to pause, a space to rest, a space to breathe properly and correctly, and a space to actually listen to ourselves again. So many of us are living in a constant rhythm of doing. We're doing more, we're being more, we're holding more, we're pushing through more. And even when everything looks fine on the outside, there can still be this underlying sense of depletion on the inside, this sense of disconnection, and sometimes, more often than not, being slightly out of sync with ourselves and feeling a little bit off par. And I suppose this reflection has been influenced by my own journey as someone who has had to make quite a few major life changes in the past, particularly following a period of burnout in my 30s. As a coach and a movement educator, I've come to understand things very differently over the last 2 decades of my journey. I no longer see health as something we achieve through exercise alone, neither through discipline alone, neither through effort alone. The lifestyle choices we make matter just as much as the supplements we take and the food that we eat, just as much as we move the way that in which we move our bodies. And this is something that feels deeply connected and aligned to the work of Joseph Pilates. As I prepare to give a presentation on the history of Pilates, I find myself weaving little pieces of that history often into my teaching. However, I'm continually surprised by how many people and even teachers don't realize that Joseph Pilates was, in fact, really one of the first original lifestyle coaches. Long before wellness became an industry, he was speaking about how we live and not just about how we exercise. Most people know then that Joseph Pilates, for the reformer, the mat, and the apparatus that we now associate his name with. But his method was never just a system of exercises, nor when it started was it called Pilates. Instead, it was called chronology, and it was a philosophy for living well, a way of approaching the body and life as one interconnected system. In his writings, particularly in The Lion in the Cage, there is this underlying sense of tension that he observed in people that used to come to practice at his studio, and as he observed in modern life. A sense that when we lose connection with our own natural rhythms, when we lose connection with the body, something in us becomes compressed, contained, and almost caged. And in many ways, I think that question and that feeling is still really relevant today. What happens when we become disconnected from ourselves? Joseph Pilates outlined what he called principles for health and well-being. And when you read them now, what's interesting is how simple they are, and yet how far we are from them in modern life. Things like fresh air, daily movement, getting enough sunlight, good rest and sleep for recovery, spending time outdoors with nature, correcting our breathing, good posture, natural movement, mental well being and moderation, and taking responsibility for your own health. And what strikes me the most is not how complex they are, but how easy they are for us to forget. Because we live in a world that often rewards the opposite. We celebrate productivity, we admire business, and we fill every moment of our space in our calendars with something. Every moment is accounted for, and every gap seems to get filled. And then when we feel tired or overwhelmed or depleted, guess what? We often respond by doing more. We train harder, we work more, we push more. But what if the answer isn't always found in the doing more? What if it's found in doing less, in creating this space to recover, space to regulate, space to reconnect with what the body is actually asking for? And this is something I see all the time in my work. I see from people that come to class, people that I work with in private, many women navigating burnout or hormone transitions, perimenopause, menopause, conditions such as endometriosis. So often the body isn't asking for more effort, it's asking for more support, more balance, more listening, and after all, more compassion. So perhaps this is what Joseph Pilates understood all along, that true strength is not just physical strength. It is the ability to live in a way that supports vitality, resilience, and well being over the long term. Think longevity. So maybe the space we rarely give ourselves is not a luxury. Maybe it's actually one of the most important ingredients of health. So, I'll leave you with this question for now. Which of Joseph's lifestyle principles feel most missing in your life right now from the ones that I've mentioned? Because for me, this question has become a thread through everything I do, through my teaching, through my own lived experience, and through the spaces I now feel called to create for others, including my upcoming retreat in Palma. Not as an escape from life, but as an opportunity to step away from the noise long enough to reconnect with it more honestly. A space where movement, rest, and reflection are given equal value, and perhaps where we can begin to remember what it feels like to simply be. Because perhaps this is what Joseph Pilates understood all along, that health is not something we chase, it is something we return to when we finally give ourselves enough space to hear it again. I'll put the link to my retreat and some more information in this post if you're listening. Please feel free to share and comment and tag others and to repost if that feels right for you. And please just send me a message if you've got any questions or you may be interested in finding out more about this lifestyle retreat. Until next time, thank you for listening, sharing, and reading, and I'll see you next time.